Welcome back to another edition of the Silver Sleep Show. I'm your host, Brandon Pockers, joined, as always, by my co-host, Ryan Toomey. Ryan, on this fine Tuesday afternoon.
Doing good. Thank you. How are you?
Couldn't be better, man. Nice.
Good to be back.
A great week in the world of sport. Huge news in the sense of the Jets finally arrived on an offensive candidate. I'd say entered this past weekend, and then as always you have Knicks, Rangers, the Devils, Islanders, Nets with the NBA and NHL season wing, and then your occasional MLB rumor. Not really anything, but we are fast approaching spring training, so a lot to get into. So let's have time, and it's time to jump right into the news. As I mentioned at the top of the show, Jets finally have an offensive coordinator. And quite frankly, it's a coordinator hire that has brought a bit of discussion. It's brought a bit of in the sense of people aren't thrilled with the universal. So the Jets hired Nathaniel Hackett as their new offensive coordinator, along with hiring Keith Carter, the team's new offensive line coach and run game coordinator. So before we get into anything else, to me, when you saw this news, what was your first?
Well, to be quite honest, I thought just watching that season, how could that guy get another job in the league so fast? One, and obviously give the guy another chance, but another job this quickly, it was quite a shock to me. Don't know what they were seeing, but I guess we'll dive into it. I know we got a lot of numbers and things to look at, so jump right into it.
Yeah. I'll with you. When I first saw, I wasn't immediate. I hate it because outside of Adam, to be quite honest, which I hated immediately. You always have to see how the implemented, who the quarterback is, what this, and I guess a good positive that can immediately be put there is Hackett is very similar to what the Jets have ran in the past on their head coach regime. Similar to Mike LaFleur, the Jets are probably going to run West Coast scheme, which means the offensive linemen don't have their scheme. The receivers know the same type of routes, and there's that sense of continuity. And then the other side of it is, you're right, he was just fired by Denver. He was the play caller for Denver, in which, look at some of the stats here. They were the ranked offense overall and ranked 30th and points. They were not effective in the slightest. But that's not the story either. It's not the story because had to deal with Russell Wilson, and there's been rumors out there that Russ was hard. The with Russ, he wasn't. He wanted to run a certain offense, and has had measures of success in the past. He was the offensive coordinator when Blake Bortles the Jaguars to the Super Bowl. He did call plays for the Bills in the past as well, and the level of quarterbacks he's coached Bortles, EJ Manuel, different types of things. When he actually had a guy like, as we'll talk about him a little bit, Aaron Rodgers, the play caller, so to say, responsible for red zone off, which Rodgers had some of the best years of his career, and he helped with the game plans with LaFleur. So I don't want to immediately kill the hire until I see what the plan is, and I feel like that has to be the case because it's like it ties back to what I said. The grass isn't always green on the other side, but you sometimes need to take that chance if that's aren't working in one or the other. And Jake, thank you. I've been trying to get this figured out. Sure, what the issue with the mic is. Hopefully that itself, but we shall see.
I mean, you touched on a lot of things he did in the past. I guess you start off with when he was with the Bills. That Bills offense was not good. I remember one year they did have a really good run game when they had C.J. Spiller and Fred Jackson, I believe it was. Then he gets let go there, follows Marone all the way to Jacksonville, and they have that season where they make it to the AFC Championship. Offense was good. So it's a bright side when you have a quarterback like Bortles that we see who had little to no success in the league besides that one season. Have a good season with Hackett under him. But then you come to a Green Bay team. They were lacking. Before he got there, they were a little shaky. I remember it was like 7 wins in a season. And they make a big jump. Every year Hackett was there, they won 13 games. And the offense flourished. Rodgers won 2 MVPs. And they had a lot of weapons. So really, when it gets to the thing, what I'm trying to think is how much do the weapons go into that? When you go into a stacked offense, you got Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, who had his greatest year of his career while he's there, and then now in the Raiders, still a phenomenal player. So we know the guy could play football at a very high level, no matter who's throwing him the ball. You got Aaron Jones in the backfield. So how much does that have to do with Hackett? Or does it have to do with Aaron Rodgers being Aaron Rodgers, one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen play the sport?
Well, that point to bring up, but also remember the Jets. I wouldn't say they have a Devontae Adams receiver yet, but Garrett Wilson's quickly approaching that. You know, I wouldn't say is exactly at the same level of Aaron Jones, but he was quickly approaching it. And so it's like the Jets are just as barren wasteland going to have to make, something. No, like he's going to have offensive talent to work with. It just comes down to. You have the dichotomy. Are you getting the second ranked offense in Denver, or are you getting a Green Bay Packers offense that 17th, second, and 8th in yards per play? It's tenure. So that dichotomy. What are you gonna get from him? And I think at the end of the day, the main reason it was Hackett over anything else is, so I think realizes what the reality is, right? They have to make a playoff push. They have to essentially the playoffs, because if they don't, he's probably 100% going. Joe Douglas, we can have that discussion at a later time based on draft and everything like that. You go in direction of LaFleur because you already tried the inexperienced, bright offensive mind. Weren't going to bring in that candidate, because guess what? You could have just kept LaFleur and brought in a Hackett to work with him, and not just have Hackett. So I it also goes into it how much pressure was put on Saleh to get rid of LaFleur. That's a different conversation we can have. LaFleur is new offensive coordinator for the Rams. Not sure what his role into like game plan and play calling is going to be there, but it will be interesting to see that. At the end of the day, you got a coordinator. You got a veteran guy that has called plays in multiple spots. You add Keith Carr, who does have a decent reputation in the league in terms of being an offensive line coach. You have another person working with it, and Robert Saleh in the conference talking about said he does want to hire another senior offensive mind. So if you're having Hackett responsible for everything offensive side of things, if you're essentially more cook to help, number one, you have the experience, and it's not going to be experience. Like the guy calling plays know what he's seeing because he's so fast. And number two, what I think is most important, in all likelihood, if it doesn't work out, you're close anyway. You're taking a swing, right? And we're going to get to that in one second about what that swing is going to be about. It relates to our question of the day. You're taking a swing here. And I'm not saying it's a 1-to-1, but it correlates. Taking a swing on a coordinator that has experience, how it feels comfortable running an offense. He's not worried about experience. That is a tank a season. Because guess what? Like LaFleur or not, the Jets did not offensive touchdown in the last of the season. They still had Garrett Wilson there. They still had Elijah Moore out there. I get it. Back situation was worse than the league. With one of the best defenses in the league on the other side of the ball. But to not score a single offensive down, that's on the OC as well. So, like I said, worst case scenario, your house anyway. You're getting a new head coach, probably offensive staff, because guess. But you're taking a swing, and if it does work, guess what? In all likelihood, you'll be in the playoffs.
When it comes down to the season for the Jets at the end there, do you believe that if they had a little more offensive production, a little more, I don't know. I remember that Dolphins game to end the year was very abysmal. Do you see a chance that Mike LaFleur would still have that offensive coordinator spot? Or do you think this was inevitable? They were going to go shopping for someone new. And quite frankly, I don't know, is Hackett going to be the answer? I mean, that offense he had was worse than the Jets. I mean, that offense he ran with a quarterback like Russell Wilson, who proved over his career that he can get things done, but obviously showed that without his legs, he's got some trouble for the coming years in Denver. So does Hackett really have what it takes? I mean, a lot of up and down his career, and can Rodgers save him? Even if they get Rodgers, who knows?
I think Hackett, I think he's going to be a lot better and not literally worse than the league when he can focus on calling plays and running an offense.
Sure.
Exactly. When you don't have to deal with a personality like Russell Wilson, where you've seen the stories that have come out,
yeah.
Right? You know, he doesn't come off like it, but he does have an ego. But I guess in that sense, if that's won that Detroit game, and they were, I guess, a little more competitive, like, because if they win that Detroit game, I feel like you win that Detroit game, you probably have more momentum going to the Jacksonville game. You maybe get a little bit better in that. Honestly, if the Jets made the playoffs, LaFleur probably keeps, or if they came one game away from missing it, he probably keeps his job. That's where I.
Now, hey, someone saw potential in him. He's got a nice little job with the Rams, who they got some weapons over there.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna see how it pans out. Now I think it's on to the most important part of the Jets offseason, because we talked last week. The biggest thing after the coordinator hire was going to be the quarterback, and our question of the day pertains: the Jets will acquire Rodgers. Agree or disagree? Make sure to leave your comment whether you agree or disagree in the chat, and we'll get to it. We got Ryan in the chat. I'm going to disagree to the poll. I don't think Rodgers answer for the Jets. They try to trade up and snag a key in the draft. Then we also got Don in the chat. What's up, fellas? So moving on forward, the news exploded when this hire was made. It's like once again, documented how Rodgers and Hackett have a great relationship. Everyone and me are connecting. Oh, are the Jets trying to Hackett to lure Rodgers? Step one. You see some rumors saying yes. You have Salah coming out in his press conference saying the Hackett hire was not made to bring Rodgers to New York. Probably in the middle of that. I don't think it's a full yes. I don't think it's a full no. to me, where do you sit the entire Rodgers situation at this point? Because before he quit, he was on Pat McAfee's show, and he did talk about Nathaniel Hackett, which while you were talking, I will pull up those comments, as that kind of may lend some insight what is going on here.
So yeah, when it really comes down to it, agree or disagree, he wouldn't be a bad quarterback to have, but it's just so early to decide, especially with a quarterback like Rodgers. He's at the end of his career. It's really not about really football, you'd think, anymore. It's about where he wants to spend 2 years of his life, or 2, 3. I know he's got 2 more years on his contract. What's he going to want to do? I remember talking last week. We were saying we had our list of quarterbacks we wanted, and when it really comes down to it, it just seems like reaching for Rodgers is, I don't know, they're trying to reach for gold. Like, this guy's going to come to New York and try and win them something in the next 2 years. When instead you got a guy like Carr that, hey, you sign him for a long-term deal and we can actually have a serviceable quarterback for years to come, and maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't. Well, we got a couple of years to figure that out. But when it comes down to it, this reminds me of something that we've been seeing with just kind of the situation the Indianapolis Colts are in right now, where you see they had start off with Phillip Rivers. That didn't work out. They went to Carson Wentz. Had a good year. Should have made the playoffs. Lost to Jacksonville, an abysmal Jacksonville team. Missed the playoffs. Now they went to Matt Ryan. That was awful. Terrible. They had to clear house. Frank Reich gone. Hired Jeff Saturday. He was a high school football coach. So hopefully something like that doesn't happen to the Jets, because now the Colts are in a situation where they're probably going to draft a quarterback, or have to, because they can't keep looking for guys just to come in, sign 1-year deals, and get out. So when it comes down to it, what I wanted, what we were talking about last week, was just to get an offensive coordinator in there, or just have a quarterback who wants an offensive coordinator there. Right now, it just looks like they're reaching for Rodgers.
So, like I said earlier, I personally think the Hackett hire is somewhere in the middle. So I think they want Rodgers. I feel pretty obvious, but I think that they also want this coordinator. And let's face it, you want an experienced coordinator. Hackett's probably one of the best or only ones on the market. You're not getting Frank Reich, coach of the Carolina Panthers now. You're not getting Todd Monken. He has a job at Georgia. You're not getting Cliff Kingsbury. He's somewhere across the world. Who knows? Probably. I think it's what one is that where he was?
Who?
Kingsbury.
I don't know what's gonna happen with that guy.
He's off the face of the earth. And we got Rob Brinkman in the chain. The Packers should dump Aaron and go with Love. Aaron to the Jets is a typical blow up.
I think Love is a talented player. That, I mean, you saw him when he got added into that end of that Eagles game when Rodgers went down. He had some good drives where Christian Watson went up for a big slant for, I think it was more than 50 yards for a touchdown, and he looked comfortable out there. So that's a quarterback that I think they can mold for the rest of their future. I think I completely agree with that.
Oh, I think they should go with Love, because more expensive than Rodgers after this season. So the clown from today's Pat McAfee show, if you haven't watched, it's on Hackett. We have certain coaches who mean a lot to us over the years, and was one of those guys. Said he's on a different level he's bonded with in his career. Can't answer questions. Higher impacts his next stop. So it's been well documented. I wrote about this in my article that's Insider last week. It's been how close Rodgers and Hackett are. Vouched for him countless times. He's and said that the failures in Denver on Hackett. Rodgers has always had Hackett's back. And I also stand where I don't think the hire was solely for Aaron Rodgers. I think the Jets wanted experience at offensive coordinator position, because whether anyone's going to come say it, it is a make or break year for them. Would be 100% on board with an Aaron Rodgers move. And the reason for that is because you need to capitalize on the window of Gardner Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall. You want to throw a lot more in the door. Elijah Vera Tucker. Capitalize on the rookie windows. So to your point, Toomey, when you talked about this, in my opinion, the Colts did it backwards. Tried to avoid drafting in the quarter, not be on that rookie contract, and we're trying to get that veteran because they probably thought the roster was to compete. Now they're in a sense where we need to reset the back scale so we can rebuild that roster and start to compete again. The Jets, if you look at the way they drafted, the idea was to be was going to be the guy on that rookie quarterback scale where they could build insane roster around him and compete in the playoffs. Last offseason, they tried to trade Tyreek Hill. They tried to trade for Debo Samuel. They tried to trade for these wide receivers, these alpha wide receivers, and they ended one in Garrett Wilson, regardless. They also got Breece Hall, Tyler Clint, C.J. Uzomah. They signed Laken Tomlin. You know, they didn't. Maybe all these signings didn't 100% work out, but you saw what the idea there was. So guess what? Zach Wilson crumbles. He isn't the guy, quote unquote, at this point in time. What the Jets now have to do is you can't let that window go to waste. You have to capitalize on the rookie contracts. But in a few years, Sauce Gardner, if he continues at this level, paid a lot of money. So is Elijah Vera Tucker. Maybe even some of your underrated guys you drafted or you draft this year. So, if you're looking at sense, a guy like Derek Carr, a guy like Aaron Rodgers is probably the best option to compete for the playoff. You have to reset that scale again. Because let's face it here. In all likelihood, the Jets aren't going to draft quarterback in this draft. Between the Texans, the Colts, potentially the Commanders. There are a lot ahead of the Jets draft that would draft a quarterback on fact that it makes no sense with a coaching that's potentially in a dual scenario this season to invest in another rookie. So I think the Aaron Rodgers plan, the Derek's great because that's your window. You figure out the 2025 and beyond in 2025. You draft a guy late in this year's draft to him. Have it as a long-term backup, not starter, right? Draft their strategy I always come across on Twitter, like every year. We see it with the 49ers. Purdy comes out of nowhere. There's these different can do, but overall, I think I feel like signs are pointing towards Rodgers will get traded, but I'm gonna come on this show and really pound the table and say I agree he's going to the Jets. Personally, I think Derek Carr is your more of a big option. I think as of the episode that we're doing here live, I think that Carr is the more likely trade target. My person, I'd give Rodgers. I'd put at like a 30%. Not saying it's like the none, but as of now, I'm gonna have to disagree because there's too much. What's the best way to put it? I think there's not controversy, but we don't even know if Rodgers is 100% come back yet. So I can't come out and say, Aaron Rodgers is 100%. It's just there's not enough information pointing towards that fact. They are going to pursue him, in my eyes. Are going to go after him. I can't just be like, oh yeah, it's a deal. That's why I have to disagree with the poll. Because quite frankly, we don't know. No.
It's gonna. I see there Rodgers, San Fran, Brady, Raiders, Carr, Jets. It's an idea for sure. I mean, when it comes to Rodgers, growing up, since I've been watching football, he's up there top 3 most exciting, best quarterbacks I've watched in my life. When it comes back, I think the guy's going to come back too. There's a lot of money sitting on the table there for him not to take that. But when it comes down to the fit, is New York the fit for a guy like Rodgers?
I don't think it matters.
No,
I don't. I really don't.
I think a Rodgers Wilson combo right there would be exciting. It'd be something he could grow Garrett Wilson as receiver too. I think we'd end up seeing two of the best seasons of Garrett Wilson that we'd ever see in a Jets uniform.
Yeah, I agree. And having a maybe by the grace of miracles, Aaron Rodgers teaches Zach Wilson how to be a competent NFL back.
Also too, they have a good relationship as well.
Exactly. So it's like these things do add up. These things, like you're pulling things out of thin air. There are things there. And Rodgers can't handle the New York market. In the age of social, the media is everywhere. You can catch back for whatever you do. It's not like just because you Green Bay, you avoid scrutiny. It doesn't work.
And no player in the NFL has taken more garbage in the past couple of years than Aaron Rodgers. So the guy can handle everything. He's really changed up his outlook on things, and he's still a hell of a player, and he could bring a lot to this organization and a lot of the players under it. Especially Zach Wilson. Maybe he can turn Zach Wilson around, give him a brighter outlook on things.
My dream quarterback rankings really haven't inched. Obviously, the pipe dream of Lamar Jackson will be number one 1,000%. Who the heck knows what's going with that? I don't think you're going to hear anything about that. I think they're the one that drags out Rodgers and Carr and Garoppolo. But in terms of realistic rankings, quote unquote, Rodgers jumped up to like 2 for me. I think it goes Carr, Rodgers, and then a little bit of and Garoppolo, with Lamar at 5 for me. So I just think it's a lot more likely. I'm still disagreeing that it's 100% going to happen. Will acquire Rodgers with today's poll. It's a lot more likely. Would it surprise me if we were on the next week, Super Bowl week, the smoke is blaring, a Rodgers trade is imminent? It wouldn't surprise me. Would it surprise me if we came on this show next week and literally nothing has changed this episode? No, surprised me in the slightest.
It, as much as it's a lot of waiting period, it is an exciting time for the Jets. When it comes down to it, they're going to get a quarterback. Someone's going to come, and whoever it is, they're going to make the team better. If it's Rodgers, I agree with you as well. It's not 100%. Nothing is 100%. It's not even 99% that Rodgers comes to the Jets. But just saying, like, who can really provide the best option for this Jets team? And I like your list. I like Carr, Rodgers, Jimmy G. They're all good. They're all players that have showed they can win in this league. I mean, maybe not Carr. Carr before his injury, he was a hell of a player. And he still is, but he just has a lot of issues. And you know what? His time with the Raiders ended. It had to. They saw everything they had to with him. And you know what? Hopefully, wherever he goes, he's got a better outlook on things and can find a way to figure it out. Someone can fine-tune him and make him into that elite quarterback that people think he can be.
It's a problem with the veteran market, though. It's single quarterbacks have their issues. Jimmy Garoppolo is his card. You mentioned it. Aaron Rodgers, will he come back? Will he retire? Lamar Jackson. I love his play style and everything he brings to the table. He has been injured the past few years. Jacoby Brissett, God forbid we point, because we're talking about, hey, is Mike White or Jacoby Brissett the starting quarterback? I can tell you for 100%, me and you on the show, we're starting the Caleb Williams to the Jets 2020. That will be
exactly
that will be my personal just that will be the mindset, because like at that point you're got like I will put this out there. It is January 1st, 2023. If it is September and the Jets are a season with Jacoby Brissett or someone like that as their starter, I will call this offseason abject failure. Abject. I don't care what they do to improve the O-line. They need to do. I don't care what they do to improve the run. If you were going to next year with a Jacoby Brissett after missing out Carr, Rodgers, Garoppolo, maybe even the draft too, it's a failure. I'm sorry. That honestly prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Because if that happens, I'm considering an abject failure.
If that is the case, it comes down to a bigger situation than just the season being a failure. You notice it a lot this year. Those rookies we got, they are hungry to win and be out there for pivotal games. Very vocal guys. Sauce Gardner this year was very vocal. Garrett Wilson was very vocal on the QB situation.
Quinnen Williams tweeted this past weekend. It's like Nick Bosa gets the stuff I've been going through this year.
These guys do not want to go through another season of downfall. And Brissett, hey, he's a good quarterback. He showed he can do some things. He can win some games. He can be a game manager.
It's nothing against Brissett, latest, but you're not inspiring confidence.
No.
In any if you're going into a season like what that means, and if you were going to a year where you're like, okay, we're getting Brissett because we're developing Zen. If you just drafted and Brissett's your starter because you want to sit Wilson, okay, hey, that's fine. But if you get Brissett now, that means you literally missed on every single quarterback target, and fail. It says that.
And that would really be a shock to me too, because you see the situation the Jets are in. They got a team there. There is a team. There's a life in that organization that we haven't seen in quite a while. And for a quarterback to pick another team over that with a defense that's stacked and with offensive weapons that they probably most likely will not find somewhere else, it seems like a no-brainer, but you never know.
Not to mention the Jets are desperate. They'll
take anyone.
Dutt has been careful with draft capital, but if he thinks Bob may be on the line, if he doesn't get a quarterback, guess what? He's going to probably be more aggressive. So, as we've laid out, Rodgers a lot more early than the last time we talked, but we're teetering on where he's 100% going to be a Jet. Before we move on to talking about playoffs, because I have some words to say about these games. Have you changed your mind potential additions for the Jets should do in the offseason? Have you changed your mind on what they should target, or are you kind of in the same last time we discussed this?
Very similar. Bring a quarterback to New York. Let's fix up the holes we got on the defense there. Not many. Let's fix up that O-line. And you know what? They got a real shot. They proved this year. I mean, obviously the Bills didn't do what they're supposed to do in the playoffs, but the Bills are still a good team. Maybe they won't be next year, but they competed with that Bills team. They beat that Bills team, and they proved that they can win these games. I'm not saying next year they get this quarterback, they're going to jump all the way to Super Bowl contenders, but get a little momentum, and hey, they'll have a good playoff push. I just want to see some Jets playoff football.
Oh, I mean, you talk to anyone they feel that same exact way.
I'm not even the biggest. Oh my God, this franchise has seen so much. Let's give them what these fans have been waiting for years. Give them a quarterback that they can look at and be overjoyed with. Get these receivers. I want Garrett Wilson jumping on. He's going to get a notification on his phone that Derek Carr, someone signs. I want him jumping around, tweeting, excited.
Exactly. I did it just for fun. I did like a mock, I think yesterday, where 4 rounds. I liked what I came up with, but I realized is not so much the line, but even to an extent a little bit. it's going to sound so cliche, but so much of what the Jets do in the draft, which I think is the more important aspect for them this offseason, depending on what they target in free agency. So, personally, I would love to target a safety in the draft. I'm not going to 100% say that's going to do, because as they've shown, they would much rather target a position like that in free agency. There are great options, and I like potentially a Brian Branch selection at maybe the back end of the first, right back up, or at pick 15. I personally would love an offensive line selection. Peter Skoronski comes to mind. Paris Johnson Jr. immediately comes to mind, or Broderick Jones. So those are guys I'm looking at. I think my favorite out of the bunch because he brings versatility. He can play inside. He's shown that in the past. He can play outside. He's shown that in the past as well. I think you add him to Elijah Vera Tucker, you have a lot of versatility on that end, where for a team that has been absolutely crippled by injuries at that spot, that would be full. But let's say the Jets sign Mike McGlinchey in free agency, for example, the free tackle from the 49ers, who had parity with Salah and has ran a similar scheme. Are you now dedicating other asset to offense, or are you taking a safety? Are you drafting a Addison or a JSN at that spot? Give you an inside receiver core. Like these are the type of things. The needs haven't really changed. It's obviously quarterback, 1,000%. But between O-line, linebacker, safety, even throw wide receiver, and those are probably like the top 5, quote unquote. Even like center as well, but that probably O-line. It all depends how you attack those different needs. And Bliss, good as he's drafted, struggling in free agency. So I think on both, but that's I am very, very, very excited to see the Jets approach, especially considering they are a little bit above they make a few cuts. They'll probably get below it. But I just want to say that is my number one thing besides quarterback that I'm looking for in this offseason. We approach it because guess what? Well, is this week. The NFL Combines in a few weeks. Offseason and free is going to be there like that. They're like that.
When it comes to me, I always look at the draft as you have your needs, obviously, but then you got these positions. Which position you think is more of a need? Do you think there's more of an O-line need, or do you think there's more of a defensive safety end need?
So I'm torn because I think O-line's the bigger in terms of maybe in the sense of you need to essentially read that entire unit again. We talked about it last week, right? Between McGovern, agent, Fant, you don't know the status, Dwayne Brown. Those are three potential starters. You have a question mark in Vera Tucker's coming off of injury. Mitchell's coming off of injury. That's essentially the entire offensive line. Your only quote-unquote guy was Lakin Tomlinson, who was one of the worst pass blockers in the entire NFL this year. So, yeah, you kind of need to revamp that. I have confidence that acquire enough assets that and use the assets to do that, because they've made the effort, just a matter of hitting on them. I think you need linebacker too, because let's face it, as good as defense was, they were exposed at that position, especially when it came to covering both at linebacker and at safety. So those are the top three for me. O-line, linebacker, safety. However you order those, you can make an argument. You can make an all of it.
When it comes down to it, I like my defensive players. I like them young, fast, especially in this defense they got now. I want them to be excited to play with these guys that proved themselves already last year. I want a guy to come in hungry, ready to earn his spot, ready to play. When it comes to offense, I usually like a guy that they'd get in a free agent. I like a guy who knows what he's doing. He's been there before. He's been in the trenches in the NFL, and he can really stand up there and knows how to protect a quarterback. So that's what I look at it from a draft standpoint. But if you can see an O-lineman at that 13th pick and you think he's going to be the guy that can really change his team up, hey, drafting's always a risk. Drafting's a risk. I like knowing free agency is awesome because you can see what the guy's done in his career. You know what he's done. You know what he can do. You know what he can produce. Guy in the draft, you never know. We've seen it all the time. First rounders come in and make a fool out of themselves.
That's why is that telling that guy to efficiency? But those are the things. Yeah, the draft has its risk. The free agency has well.
Of course.
So, I think we lean a little bit. I think I personally like some, not all of it, but I think as safety play, I think I'm more of a fan of splitting that down the middle. Usually, like grabbing one in free agency and one in the draft. Your full defense draft and full offense free agent. Where I don't know. I think so much. I think it's always predicated on like draft class. So
we saw what Douglas did last year. So
exactly. So
I
think it is time for us to move on. We have done a lot of Jets talk, and face it, you're gonna hear a lot more over the coming weeks and months, along with Giants talk, because we didn't talk today, but Giants have some big decisions coming up, and we're gonna dive right into that when the offseason fully begins. But Simply and Daniel Jones, man, they gotta get those contracts wrapped up.
We talked about it last week. I mean, it's I don't know. I'm excited to see what they do. It's gonna be curious because hey, he's a smart guy. He proved that he can be a successful coach in this league, and hopefully they turn it around. Hey, as much as I like my Jets, I'll root for the Giants any day.
We got Peter. He thinks Aaron Rodgers will be traded to the Jets. So it's the first agree of the day.
There we go.
If you want, and if you guys have any questions, you want to just talk in the chat about this question, leave it and we'll get to it. But it is now time on to talking about the conference championship games. So to me, I will give the floor to what to start with.
Well, we'll start with the disappointing one. 49ers Eagles.
Man.
What a shame. It truly was. So much potential that game had, and I had to stop watching, actually. So I can't really tell you what happened in the fourth quarter because I couldn't do it. I heard about it, though. But if Brock Purdy, I don't know. Please talk about something. I gotta think what I'm gonna have to say about this game.
My playoff predicting law ran out.
Mine as well.
I did not get either of these games right. I 49ers Bengals, and here's where I stand with it. Right, this may be blasphemy for any Eagles fan. This isn't a slight the Eagles in the slightest. I think the Eagles played a very good game. If the 49ers have a functioning back for half the game, I think they win. And when I say a functioning quarterback,
that's a tough statement, but go on.
Look, Brock Purdy basically got his elbow. The dude might have Tommy John. Like for anyone that hasn't played baseball is like you legitimately can't throw for essentially a year. And this dude, Brock Purdy, had to go back into a football with this type of injury at quarterback. He tried to throw a pass. What type of explanation can even come close to that? Is it basically like trying to like push her with like two broken legs?
From what it seemed like he had some pretty bad nerve damage in that elbow. I try and writing on a pen and pad with that. You're not gonna be able to do it. It's completely shot. It's a complete shame it happened because we got to see the wonderful Josh Johnson come in and really, I mean, they have 3 quarterbacks. They got lucky. 3 quarterbacks that could lead them to an NFC championship game in a stacked NFC. Luckily, not luckily, but the luck ran out with the 4th. And
they all got hurt. They all got hurt.
But really add to it, I mean, the Eagles did a job. They did their job. That's all they had to do. This is no shot, just like you said before, on the Eagles. This playoffs, a cakewalk. Not saying that they don't deserve to be in the Super Bowl, because I think they do. They really do. They've proved themselves all year that they're probably the top team in the league and they can compete with anyone. But really, they play a Giants team that doesn't belong. Really, they don't belong. I mean, or they just don't belong on the same field with the Eagles. And then you got a 49ers team that, hey, they lost their magic touch. I mean, if Brock Purdy stayed in, I don't think Eagles scored 31 points. I think the defense stays a little more motivated out there. But by the time the game reached the second half, that defense had to know, like, if Purdy's not come back in, and what are we going to do? We can't score 30 points on our own as a defense.
Exactly. And look, I know the stats are skewered, but Jalen Hurts only threw for 121.
We didn't have to do anything. It's such a shame.
And they could just run the ball and run the out, because it's like the 49ers don't have a quarterback throw a football. So when I say I think the 49ers, it's look at the I know Johnson was in, but when the 49ers knew they had a quarterbacks, they shut down the Eagles for straight drives. The Eagles couldn't football. It was only after the Josh Johnson injury, which whatever you want to account it to, when the Eagles start football again. The 49ers, quite frankly, just ran out of gas. We honestly, we've seen with the Jets. Look at the back half of the year. When you're off and help you, the defense, they just don't have that push. They don't the complementary football there. We've seen that with offenses too. Look at in the Mahomes has lost games because he had to be perfect, not make a single error. His defense could not stop anyone. Same thing with Josh Allen playoffs last year. It's when one side doesn't bring up the other, things immediately like crash, and everyone loses. So Eagles literally had a stretch. They played some of the easiest. They have played some of the easiest breaks. They the easiest breaks I've ever playoff run. But guess what? They are still in Super Bowl. They have been the best team in the entire year. 49ers. And you can only play on your schedule. Let's face it. The NFC this year, weak conference. One of the weaker conferences I've ever seen, to be quite honest with you. In terms of units, are any of these teams truly? I mean, I'm taking San Francisco out of the equation because they got screwed over in my eyes. They ran into a lot of bad quarterback luck. I think it would have came down to the wire.
And they still made it to the NFC Championship.
Exactly. Dallas lost to Washington. Had a fluke win against. I mean, not a fluke win, but let's face it, Tampa, not good. So Dallas, no.
I mean, you could take out the whole NFC South.
NFC South.
You could take out.
None of the teams were playoffs. The Minnesota had the worst point differentials for a playoff team. What was it in almost like fell history? Like they barely had a point like point difference. They were close and 0 in 4 games. The sheer amount of luck you need to have that record, ridiculous. And they lost to a giant that was supposed to be rebuilding this year. This is what your NFC playoff picture was.
Yeah, I don't see. Even if pretend the Vikings win that game versus the Giants and go to Philly, it's the same thing.
It's
pretty much.
It's the same thing.
Same situation.
It's the same thing. Dallas, look, I get it. Dallas probably should have played better. They weren't beating Cisco. They they have the firepower in mind. There were teams, and one of the teams that were supposed to make it made it. It's simple as a weak conference, and you as it's fun to be like, oh, let's rag Philly, let's rag the Eagles. They're frauds, all that. Play who's on your schedule. You can only play who's in front of you. Guess what? The reception's even worse. The Eagles lose to a Giant. Imagine if the Eagles lost to the and no, it probably was happening. Imagine if that does that. Right?
It's yeah, I mean, no, I agree with what you're saying. It comes down to the 49ers were a team this year that once they got Purdy there in his motions, they had control in the games. I mean, you noticed it against the Cowboys, they were in control. The defense did their job, gave the ball back to the offense, and Purdy was able to creep down the field. Little plays. He was a game manager. It reminded me of a Alex Smith out there when he was on Kansas City, just doing his job, and that's all they needed. They didn't need They didn't need one of those elite quarterbacks that we see that the Eagles have, or what Mahomes, Burrow. And it just came down to they didn't have that piece, so they lost the whole entire offense. And once the team knows you don't have an offense, you can't win because they just won't give you the ball.
Exactly.
They had no control, and that's where it was, and the Eagles just ran away with it. But not saying they don't, but they also do deserve to be in the Super Bowl. So congrats to the Philadelphia Eagles and their franchise. Hopefully the Super Bowl is a little more exciting because I kind of jinxed last week's game. I mean, I said they're going to be very excited. I said that Eagles 49ers game was going to probably be more exciting than the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
and because of sadly Brock Purdy going down.
I gotta look at I think I'm jinx. I know like I'm getting to a point where happen, I think at least five. I will tweet something out there. And so like for weekend, I'm like, all right, say on Twitter, who you guys have in the games? I have 49ers and the Bengals. But I think both games are going to be great. Literally 10 minutes after I send that, Purdy gets injured, and I'm just staring at the screen. I'm like, huh. I'm like, okay. And then since Cincinnati loses to him, okay.
They should have at least made it more exciting. Put McCaffrey at quarterback. Let's see what he could do, right?
Oh, that was I think they did, and he's so bad that they're like, let's again.
I mean, McCaffrey was having a good game too in that first half. That touchdown run was crazy, and he was really moving the ball. And sadly, no one else was there. I mean, they couldn't get anyone else involved. Debo couldn't get involved. Kittle couldn't get involved.
Well, time to talk about the AFC game. Because we talk about the Zebras after we discuss this game because these games were ideal. Get to that. The Cheifs defeated the Cincinnati Bengals by score 3-20. This was a lot better of a game. You know, I think better team won. I think like I said, it was going to be a toss up, and Kansas City came out on top. Mahomes, a mutant, you might say. I was trying to find the right words in a tweet, but the best way to put it is it wouldn't surprise me if we found that Charles Xavier putting Pat Mahomes onto the end because like dude's making these plays on essentially one foot. I've never seen it like it in my life. And I wish I was exaggerating. The dude essentially made jump throw off, and fit it in the window past the defender for a touchdown. Has anyone else done that? A ankle sprain? like it's ridiculous.
We got a lot more limping to see in 2 weeks to come too, because you know damn well that foot's still gonna be bothering him a little bit, but he looked fine. He still looked like Mahomes. When it comes down to the game, I mean, you talked about a lot of talk on the internet. Let's talk about those referees, and everyone thinks the NFL is scripted now. It is.
Oh,
that's the only thing I see.
All right, if you want to just jump in, if you're it up, we might as well, right? Because I want to talk about a little bit more of the game about refs. I'm cool with them. I'm cool.
All right, back to the game. I mean, it all comes down to, I guess, that it comes down to the final play. I mean, you were watching it, I was watching it. That roughing the passer. It happens.
It was the right.
Oh, right call, 100%.
It was the right call.
And it's a shame it happened because I really want OT. That would have been, especially with the new OT rules. We haven't seen them yet. That would have been exciting to watch. But sadly, and then that player, the whole season, one play right there. Really bad. They had 8 seconds left after that. I think they're around like the 50, 40. Where were they on the field? Somewhere around there.
Yeah, like it would have been a much tougher.
Yes, it would have been much deeper, and for that game to end like that,
it's tough.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: that game wasn't lost. Let's face it: the Chiefs' defensive line, the Chiefs' defense, they stepped up. Chris Jones, proving why he is 3 interior defensive linemen, possibly top 10, top 5 defensive player in all the NFL. Saw the effect of the Bengals having three top offmen because Joe Burrow was getting killed out there, and you also saw the effect because Joe Mixon ran a grand total of 19 yards, and P. Ryan only ran for 22. Joe Burrow, in fact, was the leading rusher with 30. Between Duffy, Chris Jones, I mean, pulling up some of the other names on the Kansas. Justin Reed had a good game. Brian Cook, Jay Watson, George Karlofsak. Like the Chiefs defense, and also you had Marquez Valdes-Scantling, 6 for 116 and 1. Seeing a great game out of him. He's been a good ad for Kansas City. Quite frankly, the Chiefs came out on top. And I think it's time to get that they might have been held a little bit to come out on top.
I mean, if you really look at both sides of the game, you can see that there was probably missed calls on both sides. But yes, there was a lot of obvious calls that were missed. I mean, I feel like we've been seeing it in every sport lately. I'm tired of hearing this scripted stuff. Mm-hmm. Because I don't know how these guys. I mean, I'm personally know a lot of football players in my life, and for them to say that these guys are going out, putting all this work in, going out, beating themselves up on that field, to hear this is scripted, that's a shame.
Is that the biggest joke on the now? It's got to be up there, right?
Maybe there's people pushing for things to happen, but I don't know these. Just to say, but the refs, hey, they did make some calls at the end that were blatant, and they really did have game-changing. I guess what's the word I'm looking for? They were game-changing calls. They really were
game-changing ramifications. And you know, I think the biggest thing when it comes down to the refs, I just have an issue with it because one. The issue I think is the reason why you have quote unquote blow-ups is in this age is under a microscope. Everybody watches everything, at least attempts to, or at least says that. And when everyone says that they watch everything and everyone examines everything, you are looking at the most minute details in every.
Exactly right.
So. To play devil's advocate here, when you're examining every single call of a game, You are going find mistakes everywhere. Bar none. Everywhere. But and I say as a fan of a team that has not gotten calls. As a football fan as well, I have seen certain teams get better than others. Really think needs to happen. And the refs are human. It's never going to be perfect. I completely understand that. Consistency. My thing going forward for NFL officiating, sports officiating and cheating in general. I want consistency.
That's yes.
I don't care if it's good call, bad calls, or in the middle. If you're calling it one way for a team, call it the other way that team. If you're calling borderline holds for its offense, call borderline holds for the Bills offense. If you're calling dust up PIs offense defense, then call them for the defense. Like, I just don't like the fact that guess what? Potentially holds were missed on the last play. There's holding on every. You talk to any offensive lineman. There's holding on every single play in football.
If you really got down to it, there's a penalty on every single
play. Right. And it's never going to be perfect. But when it comes to when Joe Burrow gets late shoved after the play, no, it isn't roughing the passer. But when you've called that on a different quarterback during the game, what are we doing? Why are we calling it one way now and another way? Like that's my biggest. That's where I get. Like you can't just call it inconsistent. Like inconsistent, annoying. It can't happen. It just can't happen.
No, you've seen it in baseball as well. You've seen, and it's different in baseball because coaches get thrown out, players get thrown out, stuff actually happens. I've been saying this all year with football. It's just been a shock to me that seeing that these coaches can yell and scream and say whatever they want to these referees and nothing happens. It's like the biggest shock for me. It's the one sport that you're allowed to do that. Basketball, you see it too, but back to it. Balls and strikes. Yes, people get upset with it, but when it's consistent, they don't care. They know umpire's got a low zone, umpire's got a high zone. He's calling this call, calling that call, so it's fine. People think, but then when it starts getting a little chippy, one side's getting more calls, then it becomes an issue. So it's the same thing. And yeah, there were. If you probably go down to the nitty gritty, the Chiefs probably got more calls. If you really look at it, and like you're saying before, it is a lot easier to see what happens when the camera's right on it and they're slow-moing it. You can see every step for step. I mean, these referees are out there. They're humans too. I mean, it's a 60-minute game, and you're running around. These guys are all out of shape. You've seen them. They don't belong out there. I mean, Come on. These guys are going to make mistakes. They're humans. And, hey, if that's an issue, then there's got to be a talk of new refs, which obviously not going to happen. What people aren't going to want to see AI in sports making calls. So, it's something that these teams and these players and these fans, they got to deal with. And
we see it in baseball, like you said, basketball. We see it in hockey. All these refs struggle with the same things. But I truly believe this. There is a big difference. NFL ref struggles and these other league struggles.
Maybe NBA. You can maybe throw NBA in there. Those guys.
Well. I'm not talking about ref performance. I personally think the NFL officiating is so much better if the NFL implemented the technology that we know for a fact that they have into, these systems. You have the sky judge.
Yeah, it gets down to it. I mean, the games would just take so much longer, wouldn't they? I mean, you see these NBA games when they get past to the final 2 minutes, it's like an hour.
Yeah, but what we're talking about is you have the sky judge. Yeah, implement that everywhere. Be like literally, if there's a call, the sky judge can call down and change it. Not every single certain things. Like, for example, pass interference. I feel like that would be critical. You can't have coaches challenge it, but the sky be like, no, that's not PI, or yes, that's PI in that sense. Also, you have chips in the football. We know that because of next gen stats. It's literally like public knowledge that there are chips in the football. Hey, here's an idea. Why that instead of the chains? This isn't the 1800s anymore. Like we don't need sticks in a chain. We've seen games in a row where the chains have broke and there have been delays, both at Lincoln Financial Field. Wouldn't it be so much? Hey, guess what? We still have the chains for this, but I don't know. Let's take European soccer for example. How do you tell when someone's offsides? Cameras and chips in the ball.
I actually never thought about that. That is interesting. The old chains, yeah.
It's like you make that small tweak where hey, we're gonna actually use technology in our sport. Think about how many calls are eliminated, game changing in terms of first downs and stuff like that, or based on human error because someone doesn't use the chains properly or spot the ball right.
You got me stuck on the chain now. I can't believe they haven't. There's so much technology in the sport. I don't know how they're still using that now that I think about it.
It's archaic. It's fake. It's frustrating.
No, like really, it is. Maybe you call Goodell after this. You give him a little shout.
I don't know if to hear some.
Give him a ring.
Some 20 from Jersey just randomly.
He's not a busy guy, right? He doesn't have much going on.
I don't know. He only has to manage the biggest sports organization in the planet. So
there we go. But no, very interesting. I like that. No, that's But back to the game, right? Back to, I mean, there were some pivotal calls, and it turned out the way it is. But hey, Chiefs came out on top. Chiefs belong there.
Exactly. You want to talk about refs too? They were terrible in the Philly.
Yeah.
I won the pour out watching that game. That was brutal.
No, yeah.
I mean, the 49ers were extremely undisciplined. But how many calls in a row were you, like some of them are just like ticky tack. It's just it's the most annoying thing to me because it's in my eyes, and this is how I look at playoffs. Let them play, let them slide unless it's egregious. And guess what? Didn't happen. It had to be the ref. Especially, and we forgot about this part, which I don't know how we forgot. How about the Chiefs getting five down?
5 what?
The Chiefs getting the third down veto.
Oh, yeah, right. Never seen that. Never seen that before.
And I understand the refs on the field, but literally have the ref just like grab a player's thing or like I he's blowing the whistle, but you can't like completely like go on. I don't know, man.
They show the replay. The guy was 30 yards downfield, moving at a solid speed of couldn't be more than 5 miles per hour, waving his arms, and obviously I'm not gonna see that. Were they blowing the whistle during the play too?
Yes, but Arrowhead
so loud.
I don't.
That was big. That had its implications too. I mean,
here's the thing. We talked about the whole thing. Imagine if that's how the Chiefs won. We'd be having a completely different conversation.
Yeah. No. I mean,
because that entire officiating crew probably would have been. The Bengals probably would have protested the game. It would have been a disaster on the NFL. Let's face it. NFL got lucky that play didn't the game being decided.
No, yeah, I mean, it comes down to it too. I just think from a fan viewpoint that these people, the fans just hate seeing the game be decided at the hands of the refs.
And also to your point, that play did have because the Bengals got worse field position.
Yeah, so like as a fan, we just want to see. We don't wear ref jerseys, right? We're not out there to see them. And yes, they're trying to make the game safer. They're trying to make the game cleaner. They're trying to do all these things just to make it. I don't even know the words fair. I don't even think that makes sense. But these, you just see it in and game out that there's these situations that occur, and the refs, hey, it's their job to make these decisions. But I just don't think people understand that. There's a lot on the line with these games, and people follow football like it's basically a religion, and people get very into it and very serious about it. So, and that's what we get to see now, and everyone gets to scream it's scripted and the refs are doing this stuff, and that's why we see this. But if the game isn't decided in the hands of the ref, it's completely different.
Oh, 1,000%. So before we move on to talking about the Super Bowl and just previewing it, because we're going to be able to talk about it all next. I just came across a very interesting thing. So
Let's hear it.
As Derek Carr is now on the Pro Bowl roster. He was one of the alternates, so
wow.
he is now on the roster. Very interesting tweet was posted and didn't like this. According to CBA, I'll be honest, not an expert on what the NFL collective bargaining agreement says. So I will just do the deep dives into that. According to the CBA, if there's an injured playing in the Pro Bowl, the Raiders would have to pay his 2020 salary. With Derek Carr head Pro Bowl and Las Vegas is benching Derek, I wouldn't be shocked if Carr is not on the Raiders come January 5th. So obviously taking that with salt. It's not like a full-blown report, but having that information out there, I mean, number one, you're not obviously. It's like no, you obviously don't want. But imagine if that's how the Raiders got messed up with their offseason season. Can you imagine an NFL quarterback having his salary guaranteed because Carr blows out his arm playing dodgeball? He gets hurt playing ball. Like that would just be the most absurd thing ever. And if I'm Carr, if I want to stick it to the Raiders, quote unquote, fake an injury at the Pro Bowl to get my guaranteed salary. I'm just saying if that's true, the CBA, let's face it, was not designed for the Bowl to be dodgeball and throwing competitions and flag football. There's a whole new world, a lot of liability, open dodgeball, and these different, let's face it, aren't football activities. And I just it's a very interesting thing because that will 100% impact the Jets quarterback search if the Raiders are worried about that. Personally, I don't know how it does. Could you make the argument if he got hurt that he only talked about like full football and not like that's a whole different thing.
I mean, when it comes down to it, is it just like a guy like Carr who, if he gets hurt in the Pro Bowl, gets his money, or is this for everyone too?
That's true. That is but the contract for Carr, if he got hurt, then his entire salary is guaranteed for next year, which I guess that does include playoffs, Pro Bowl, maybe it's like
so
that.
Maybe Mr. Carr thinks about maybe just trying to squat 400 pounds before going out there and get himself all beat up, and then let's change flag football to tackle real fast. Let's get money. But hey, you never know. It is exciting to see the Pro Bowl. We haven't. That's on this. Was that this weekend?
That is this weekend. Yeah.
This is. I mean, are they doing a real game anymore? Or is it just flag football?
It's like flag football. Hold on.
It's going to be cool to watch. I think actually, it's something new. Something exciting. I mean, the football they played was. I don't think I ever watched it. So.
Oh, I haven't watched it in a year. I'm pulling up the events here because I want to.
Yeah, let's check this out. I'm kind of curious, but flag football's gonna be fun. I mean,
yeah. So we got the. Okay, not even NFL.com not giving me the rundown. So that let's see. skills over here. Epic Pearl dodgeball, lightning round. We got the longest drive. So we got players a golf ball the first off a tee. That's very interesting. Precision passing presented by Sports Madden 23 Mobile. That is a tongue twister. We got best catch. So that's based on contest. For then you got another best catch on Sunday. The Iron Gauntlet. So that's basic. The way that describes it is a side-by-side race showing straight ability. You got move the chains in a weighted sled. That's gonna be fun. That's basically like strongest man stuff.
So at least they're making it exciting. They're adding some new things.
And then you have kick tack toe. That is it. Oh. Okay. Well, there's news to talk about.
Well, breaking news.
Yep, breaking.
What we got? Enlighten me.
Breaking. One sec. Let me get the full sentence pulled up. Phone, please load.
Talk about All-Star games too. NHL All-Star games this weekend too.
Breaking. Saints are finalizing compensation in return. Super Bowl winning head coach Sean Payton. Sources tell ESPN. This clears the way for Payton to sign because to become Denver's next head coach. And so Payton is expected to head to Denver as its next edge. All right, we have been all over the place on the show. Before that, I haven't done this yet. Show. Creative Window Design Centers in New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Florida. We are fully authorized. Hunter Douglas Tech 609-226-0391. 1 second.
Get your creative window design.
Absolutely. All campuses also giving 20% in their store, including hats and just all our subscribers. Make sure to get in on. You don't want to miss it. All right, back to news. Wow. Didn't expect that. But didn't think Payton was gonna be a head coach. But what do you think? First reaction,
I thought he was coming back. When you said it though, I didn't think that's what was gonna come out of your mouth. I thought maybe something a little. I thought Derek Carr was a Jet right there. I thought you just shocked the world right there, but no. Hey, I like the decision. Guy was a coach in the league for a long time, got to coach Drew Brees, who's one of the greatest quarterbacks we ever saw. And hey, Russell Wilson, similar to Drew Brees, right? I mean, they're similar in height, similar. They're not using their legs anymore. I mean, Drew Brees never really used his legs, but Russell Wilson, it could be a real help. And I'm not going to do this because I did this last year. I will not be excited about the Broncos.
Nope, not doing it again.
Not at all. Not doing that again. I don't know how many fantasy teams Russell Wilson ruined for me. But so I'm not going to get excited. They're still not going to be a good team. But no, in all honesty, I think it's a good move. After seeing the reports in the past, I really thought Sean Payton was going to be the coach. And hey, it might be exciting. Might not be exciting. Let's for this one not expect anything. Because last time the league did that, they thought the Broncos were going to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. We meme of your face over Bart Simpson saying, I will not trust Broncos.
There we go.
Right. Writing that films. That same boat. I was all in on Denver last year. I'm thinking Denver's going to make this huge jump. They did not. Finally going to get see, coming full circle here on the show. We're going to see if Russell Wilson was truly a part of the issue, or if Sean Payton is of a coach with Wilson as he was with Brees. If Wilson can revitalize himself with Payton, it's going to be very interesting to see because, like you mentioned, and like I mentioned, if it was Hackett and how much of it was Wilson, going to get that answer in spades this year. And in terms of draft pick comping. Adam Schefter also reported that Denver have been discussing two potential packages, either Denver's 2023 first round pick and next year's second round for Payton and the Saints 2024 and or Denver's 2024 first round pick, and it's 2023. And we now have an update. The Broncos first round pick this year, round pick 24. That is a lot of compensation for coach. They really wanted to get.
What'd you say? I'm sorry.
Oh no, all good. But their round pick, number 30th overall, and in 2024. That's capital for a head coach, especially for a team that didn't even make the playoffs. Wow.
I mean, what the Eagles get for AJ Brown again? Let's remind everyone that. I mean,
what did they go up? I think like what?
A fifth
number or 11
for a top wide receiver in the league. Hey, I mean, they see some value in Mr. Payton, so
I'm just well, that's very interesting.
Quite a shock, exciting news for the league. Something to talk about.
I was kind of wasn't it like to go? We heard Sean Payton probably isn't getting a coach job, and this is also sidebar. Like you can't ever fully trust because there's always a motive for reports being put out there, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's the truth. Things happen. Things are put out there. Rumors put out there for specific reasons, and we saw why that rumor was put out there. Denver desperate, and Denver has their new head coach. I'm very excited. Another wrinkle to the offseason. So it's gonna be very interesting to see how Denver approaches things now that they don't have a first round pick this year.
That's a shock to give up a first round pick for a coach. They must really want him.
Yeah.
They see something. I mean, that's a lot. But they do. They have a stacked defense. I mean, I remember seeing a stat during the year that if they scored more than like 18 points a game, they would have like 10 wins. And that was like at like week 14. They would have been like 10-4 if they actually just scored.
Pulling up some no, but even if you pull up stats, Denver had defenses in the league and one of the worst offenses in the league. It was
now that coach is the offensive coordinator of the New York Jets.
like I said, I don't think it all falls on Hackett.
I think a lot of blame has to go on Wilson too.
We're gonna see how much blame was on Hackett and how much was on Wilson. It's gonna be a very fun dichotomy, especially if Hackett gets Rodgers and Payton gets Wilson. Oh man, we got some NFL stuff coming up.
There we go.
Always. Is it time to NHL? And
let's do it. NHL, NBA.
Maybe some other news is gonna hit by the time I start realizing the Rangers are doing this, or the Knicks are. Good Lord, man.
They're doing their a lot exciting in these two sports. The Metro teams are hanging in there. I mean, the Knicks are. How have the Knicks been?
The Metro? Are we going hockey or?
Oh no, I just meant in the area, but no. I meant like the tri-state area teams.
Okay. I mean, we can start with the Knicks. I'm very excited because I want to see them beat the Lakers tonight just to rub it in your face. And number two, I want to see what they do at the trade deadline. Because I truly to see we got more NFL breaking. Good Lord, man.
You see the comment too? I was actually thinking about this earlier as well.
Okay. We're just never going to get the basketball. D'Amico Ryans has been officially the sixth head coach in the history of the Houstons Ryan's played linebacker for 6 seasons and made 2 Pro Bowls and all pro and 1 rookie. This is coming from new stadium. Okay, more NFL. This is huge too, because now the 49ers defensive coordinator, and I personally think one of the best coordinators one of the best coaching candidates on the entire market.
There's been a lot of talk lately about where coach was going to go, and I guess it's been decided. What is it, Houston?
Houston's
got their next coach.
That is a fantastic hire, and one I would be buying some stock in, right? Derek Stingley. Stingley is going to do a monster season next year because D'Amico is going to use him the same way that Riley uses Sauce Gardner. And both those guys are insanely talented. They ran the same in terms of Gardner and Stingley. Ryans took over for Saleh, and he ran that scheme as well. I'm ecstatic Stingley, and I'm ecstatic to see how he uses a very underrated safety in Jalen Tree, because he had a very underrated rookie season, a safety for the Texans. He's a stud too.
So now exciting news. I'm curious at how those happened so close to each other.
Well, I was in on a Denver job. It was floated there that he was basically the lock for the Texans job. As soon as that came out, Denver moved immediately on either Sean Payton or Harbaugh, but then Payton, obviously.
There we go. It's up. Texans could be on the rise, especially if they get that quarterback of their dreams that they want in this draft.
There's so much going on right now, man.
You see the comment? I like that one.
That's oh yeah. So
that's big.
You want to touch on first comment or second comment?
First one, because I was talking about this earlier to myself.
All right. Don said, does Aaron Rodgers have offensive talent with the Jets or Green Bay?
When it comes to it, I mean, in the sense of wide receivers, I'm gonna have to go with the Jets. I'd say if you start ranking them together, so you got Christian Watson and Garrett Wilson. I'll take Garrett Wilson over Christian Watson. I think Garrett Wilson's got a little more talent. He proved himself with a lesser quarterback this year. And I think with a guy like Rodgers, he could be putting up, I'm not going to say Devontae Adams numbers, because the numbers Devontae Adams put up with Rodgers, crazy. It's one of the greatest seasons we've seen in NFL history out of a receiver. So, but good numbers as well. When it comes to running backs, though, got to give the advantage to Green Bay. I mean, even with Breece Hall, Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, one of the best RB duos in the league, which they did have not the brightest year to say, just with the offense. The offense wasn't really clicking till the end of the year anyway. So, but when it comes down to it, I'm going to have to go giving it to the Jets. Unless right now, with no moves made, I'm going to give the brighter skill players with the Jets. I mean, you got 2 young receivers, Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson, and also a bright running back. Hopefully, Breece Hall comes back to full strength. ACLs are tough. But we've seen a guy like Adrian Pearson have his greatest season of all time off an ACL. So I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, so just compare. Wilson's better than Christian Watson.
Yeah.
Elijah Moore is better than Romeo Doubs, however. Alan Lazard's a free agent. I think Uzama are better than Packers tight ends. Tanyan's a free agent.
Yeah.
You could argue that the Packers have a little better of an O-line, but I personally think it's by much with Bakhtiari's injuries and injuries along their O-line. And think that discounting the Jets running back room, because I think Zonovan Knight's underrated. I agree with you that Packers have a better high end room in terms of A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. But I think in terms of effectiveness, a room of all Michael Zonovan Knight is going to be deadly. If you want to throw James Robinson in there too, go ahead. I don't know if he's going to be on the right. And like you said, they haven't made any additions yet.
Yeah. I
Who
mean, when it
knows?
comes out to it, it's going to be exciting if pretend Rodgers is a Jet. Hey, dump off to Brees Hall. I can't wait for that. You see what connection he had with Aaron Jones and throw Brees Hall into that. He can do it. He showed us that he can be the running back of the future for this team. Stay healthy, of course, but no. I'm giving it to the Jets.
I mean, the Jets add like a Jalen Hyatt from Tennessee. Wide receiver rooms all immediately 1,000%. They added JSN Johnson.
Corey Davis still there?
Yeah, but I don't know if he's on the roster.
Okay.
We'll get into that as we season. So then we got Don saying Jeff Saturday will be Stephen A. Smith to be the defense there for the Colts. This maybe this will be the last thing NFL wise. Colts actually hire Jeff Saturday as their head coach.
I don't think they will.
I hope for
no, they're gonna
all Colts fans.
They'll go through their interview process and they'll come up with someone. It was I don't even know where they pulled.
Jim Irsay is a loose cannon.
Yeah, sure that it was. I think one of the biggest shocks this season was them. At the time, was them hiring Jeff Saturday to be the interim head coach. I mean, I've never seen in all my years of watching sports, I've never seen a person get hired at a head coaching position with no real coaching experience.
Yeah, that was the whole Saturday. That's very interesting.
Not to say the guy doesn't know stuff about football because he was an all-time lineman in this league, but that doesn't mean you're going to hire Tom Brady as your coach first year out of retiring just because he's Tom Brady. So, but yeah, no, that should be exciting. That's a good duo of Saturday and Stephen A. That would be I'm excited to see that.
You need cameras following them around full time. So, I think we covered a crazy breaking news.
Yes.
Stuff. As I was saying, the New York Knicks about this was 10 minutes ago at this point.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, I'm excited for them because looking at the standings, same spot, third seed, they're 2 games up on Atlanta. They're a game behind they're 4 behind the Cavs. This is the spot probably gonna hover around the 6 range. I want to see the rate. I said this last week. You know, you look at their games. The loss to the Nets wasn't really based on better bench or another quote unquote scorer would have helped them. You look at the Celtics game, you win a little bit easier if you have another score. Talked about it here. That one is just that trade would make me wanted to do not really great and not want to watch the Knicks as much. Would help them a lot. Alex Caruso, as we mentioned, would help them a lot. Personally, seeing OG Anunoby floated up there would help the Knicks a lot. Although you're probably getting up RJ Barrett in that deal. Sadiq has been floated there too. Maybe you go that route. You just need to improve roster, not hurt the things that have made you good this year. It's a balance. You don't want to upset the team. You also want to improve that roster so that push for the playoffs.
No, completely. I mean, it's getting to this point of the year that there's obviously front runners for who's going to be the top teams come summertime, fighting for an NBA championship. And I guess it's another year for the Knicks where you're looking at and you're like, hey, it's unless something really drastic happens, again, it's not our year. Don't know when the time's going to come that the Knicks have the firepower they need to compete with these other superstar teams, but something has to change. They're right there. They're 7th in the East. Mm-hmm. They're going to make the playoffs most likely, especially since they added the new whatever it is, adding the 9, 10, the play-in games. So they'll compete, but then they're going to get stuck. If it ends right now, they're playing a Bucks team? A Bucks team with Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really follow the trades going on with the Knicks, but I don't know. Any of those guys are good for the team, but they're not game changers. They're not going to really flip the season around.
And it's not even like you need to season around. You just need to stabilize things.
Yeah. I mean, if they can cement themselves to a 4-5 seed, because I don't see them passing Celtics, Bucks, Nets, Sixers are playing very hot basketball. I mean, the Cavs, they've showed some life this year too. So there's a lot of good teams in the East, a lot of good teams, and it's going to be hard to compete with those.
Yeah, exactly. We talked about this last week as well. Knowledge has changed. The East, maybe the top teams are creating a little bit more separation. But funny, because at these standings, the Bucks are 1.5 behind Boston. The Sixers are 3. The Nets 4.5. The Cavs are 5, and then you have a 3, and then the 10 teams are relatively close with each other, all within like 4. And then we look at the West, like even the Lakers having games out of first, and they are only 3 games the 5 seed essentially.
They got AD back too. I mean, it's a lot to look forward to. I mean,
and considering the Knicks are Lakers tonight.
Yep. A lot of trade talks flown around too in the league. I've heard Chris Paul's name get up there. Russell Westbrook, Van Fleet's going to end up going somewhere. That's going to be big news when that gets decided. I don't know. It really is. The NBA is on course. I think the West, it's anyone's field. I mean, but the East seems locked in with those top guys. Those top teams seem they really have control over it.
Exactly. So I guess to spin on things, what are like 2 trades or 2 guys you want to see moved for the deadline? Because as a Lakers fan, as in the past, you were a fan of it that needs addition, to put it lightly. If they want to run addition. So maybe a trade for the Lake, maybe a trade in general, but what do you look?
From what I'm seeing, I mean, I remember hearing Pelinka talk about this earlier in the season that they don't want to do this again, where they trade for an older veteran player and he comes in and frankly does nothing. It's been happening for the past couple of years now, and I don't think he wants to hear the backlash of it anymore. But if you end up talking about these big names, Van Fleet's been on the radar for this team for a long time now. That's a cool addition if that happens. Or Chris Paul even. I don't even know why the Suns would even consider, because he's been such a big thing for them. But I guess the Suns are not where they were. Suns for the past couple of years have been the dominant team in the West, and they've fallen off. They're back. They're, I think, at the bottom level. So I guess they want to make a move. I guess if I want to see anyone come to the Lakers, if that Chris Paul is actually true, if that's an opportunity for him to come to the Lakers, or if it's another team, that'd be awesome. But give us that point guard. I want a point guard there that can, I don't know, just shake things up. Westbrook has done a great job as the 6th man, but it's not working out. Obviously, they're 5 games below 500, so something's got to happen.
He just wants to have fun.
And they're competing with these good teams too, so it's not really the issue of like they're getting blown out all the time. I mean, the injuries are what's killing this team. If you can get 80 on the floor for 82 games a year, which would be absurd because no one anymore plays 82 games.
You're asking for like 7.
Yeah. I mean, he comes back. I saw something the other day. He's averaging 2.5 injuries a game. So that's
terrible. That's terrible, man.
That's funny.
What?
I found that funny.
Do you not want DeRozan? Is that not in the card?
I wanted DeRozan years ago when it was between DeRozan and Westbrook, and they chose Westbrook.
Fair enough.
I think the Lakers are in need of. Actually, I'm not going to say that on a live radio show. So no.
Uh-oh.
I don't want to get slandered.
Uh-oh. Why is that?
Why is that? I wanted this team to rebuild years ago.
I think we had before.
We definitely have.
Okay. Yeah, you went
as much as it's crazy to say get rid of LeBron James and start over, because obviously he's one of the greatest players of all time, and he still is. I'm not putting the blame of the team on LeBron James. I'm just saying, like, it's a young West, and I don't think this team can compete. Get what you can for a guy like LeBron James and move on. Start over, but Lakers fans wouldn't accept that, and I think that they'd have Pelinka's head for it. So
the way I always looked at the Lakers these past few years is you went all in on AD, and in that should work. But when you have LeBron that's at a still playing at a top in the league level, you could argue top 5, literally scoring like 25, 30 plus points a game.
Oh yeah.
And you're still losing a lot. That's on the Ross construction. And everyone wants to make these jokes. LeBron built this. LeBron didn't. What's not LeBron's quote unquote choice? You know, LeBron. I don't think LeBron wanted to get rid of Caruso and different pieces were absolutely vital for them to winning a championship. But you have the Lakers. I think what the issue was, they wanted to stay under the tax. They didn't want to go above it, and they got rid of some key guys. They thought they could just rely on the guys they had, and it didn't work out. And I've been on the Lakers retrain for a little bit because you know you look at the conference, and I'm not even in depth on these teams are. The Nuggets have Yoke and a nice young core around. The Grizzlies and a core around him. The Kings are on the upswing. The Kings are only going to get better. They are the number 3 team in the little bit of an outlier, but they built a little bit differently. They had Kawhi and Paul George. They have the supporting. They focused on getting more guys can support instead of swinging for the fences and getting the depth and picks for guys like West. You know, the Warriors, Luka and the Mavericks. Although I think having the carry and when he's not, the Mavericks have some issues. You know, the Suns we spoke about them, and then you have the Pelicans, Timberwolves, Jazz, and Thunder all ahead of you too. All young teams for the most. So the Lakers, and I think this is something we can talk about as we approach the offseason. They need to discuss where we're at as an organization and where the best move going forward is. Guess at the end of the day, and it'll probably sound blasphemous too. If you let LeBron leave nothing, you're starting from scratch anyway, and you're trading Anthony Davis for pennies on the dollar. You know, if you can't make a run this year, LeBron's getting another year older. He's getting another year older. So it's your window is probably closed. So which sucks, but it's the reality of the situation here.
I mean, the only statement I think I have to make about this is, when was the last time the Lakers have been said they're the 4th best team in California?
Exactly.
They're 1-9 in the division. How do you expect to make the playoffs when you can't even beat the teams that you play all the time? I mean, it's just, it's not looking good for them, and I don't expect anything from them.
Yep. Well, time to The majors to start off are in the Metro, as they have. They're 6 points behind the Devils, which are Mr. Toomey's team. Devils have 68 points, and the Hurricanes 72. Capitals are at 58 points behind Rangers. Then a lot of tight teams. The Penguins have 57. The Islanders have 5, who just made a giant trade by the way. And the Flyers at 50, and the Columbus Blue Jackets might be the worst team in the league. Points wise, yep. Close. And have a just to keep reminding everyone, have a 11 point lead on the team in their. So they're just running away with things. There hasn't. I mean, how many times have the Rangers played since the show? They
probably 2 or 3.
Yeah, they lost to the Maple Leafs overtime, and then they smacked the Golden Knights 4-1. They don't play until February 6th, as Toomey mentioned earlier. It's another week, which I'm excited for shootout and those and seeing Trevor Zegras and those type of players on stuff. So, what would you call it? The mid. What's your observations of the Atlantic and Metro divisions?
Well, just to start, the East is much more dominant. I mean,
just the Metro by itself.
The Metro by itself, and then even Atlantic, I think, might be even better. Just besides with the top 3, I mean. But yeah, no, the Metro's a lot more closer. But the Atlantic has those 3. The top 3 at 1, 2, 3 are really some of the probably top 5 teams in the league. 3 of the top 5, I'd say.
I mean, and look at Buffalo Sabres, the Buffers and Florida Panthers too.
They're right there. But to add on it, the Bruins went into. I think they lost their last 3. I really do. I know they had a 3-game losing streak. They did play good teams. They lost to the Lightning, they lost to the Hurricanes, and they lost to someone else. I forget who that other team was, but that's something good. They're starting to show that maybe they are coming down to earth, but it's going to be exciting. As of right now, for the conversations about the Devils and Rangers, both teams, hey, they're doing good, and they're going to make the playoffs at this rate. When it comes down to it, don't expect much because the Hurricanes are a good team. Bruins are a good team. But for my Devils, there's a bright future. A lot of defensive prospects, a lot of bright futures. Jack Hughes' brother, Luke, had a 4-goal night the other night in college. And they can even bring him up this year if they want to, but they're not, most likely. And Devils, most likely, when they come back from the All-Star break, are going to be at full health, which we haven't seen since December 20th around there. I mean, I remember December 23rd, they played the Bruins, and everyone was hurt. And they competed with the Bruins. So it's going to be exciting to see.
They have a 7-goal differential, even after losing their last 3. Freaking ridiculous. In terms of the Rangers, it's funny because when they're losing games, it's because the offense isn't as, and when they're winning their games, since it's on. It's funny because you can tell when they're losing, and why. And it's been pretty clear cut from the majority of the season. I have some of those fluke games where they get shut out, and it's a 1-0 game. But I'm excited about the Rangers. If there's any about them, they've been consistent, a good amount of prospects. The NHL is always interesting in terms of signings. I have to look a bit more into potential free agent stuff, but that's so far down the line. Gonna concern really about that yet. But I'm excited because this back half, the hockey gets fun.
Yeah.
The playoff pushes start happening. The trades. I mean, what was it? Horvat went to the Island, and you look at the Islanders are at 5 points. They're technically not even, quote unquote, in contention now. But they're
something like this can help them out for sure.
But going into the All-Star break on a 2-game week, now 2 games behind the Penguins, or 2 points behind. Guess what? 1 win by them and a loss by Pittsburgh. finally there's have a wild card spot.
Yeah. I
Which
mean,
is
I
great.
like someone you touched on it before, just talking about the dominance of the Bruins. You brought their goal differential. It is more than half than the next best team, pretty much. They're at 78. Next best team is Devils and top of the West at 40.
Yeah.
So that just shows the pure dominance. But hey, that you like you said it's going to be really exciting at the end. And there's been talks with the Devils at least of maybe grabbing Timo Meier from San Jose, I believe. I
Yeah,
could be wrong on that. But
and then you hear the Rangers rumors. Oh, yeah, maybe.
and then it comes with that, though. I hate to see it because the team's been so awesome to watch this year. But for them to lose, they're going to have to give someone important to the team. But to get a guy like that who has a good relationship with Nico Hischier, too, just to add new chemistry and more excitement as a team would be great to see. But also very sad to see people go. But hey, it's that time of the year. It is. I do always find it a little strange. I probably said this last week, too, to watch hockey in the spring. But then right when it gets to the point of summer and the playoffs hit, it's great.
The weirdest point is always the lull in baseball and football when it's just what's on. I hockey. Basketball. It's like sounds good.
And now I don't even think we brought this up. 2 more weeks of football and not even. We have 1 more game.
Yeah, kind of. But if there's anything that we've learned from Joe, the NFL king, because it's always fast and furious.
Oh yeah. No,
so,
it's
yeah, exactly right.
I like it.
To the last portion of the show, the week ahead. So I will give gracious co-host the floor. What are this week?
What do you got for me?
No, I said the weekend. I'm giving you the floor. What are you looking for? Any predictions?
Oh, well, let me see. I mean, actually, I was curious. When's the NBA break?
I think it's coming up.
Yeah.
It's the NBA breaks are always close to each other. So
when it comes down to hey, there's no hockey, there's no football to talk about. I mean, there's no baseball. So I guess the week ahead is just there's probably gonna be a couple exciting trades going down in all sports. Something big's gonna happen in the NBA. You might be seeing a big name like Chris Paul again moved, or Van Fleet as well. But sports wise, don't bet on the Lakers. I'll give you that. That's my advice. I don't even watch them anymore. Let's see though. I'm looking.
Yeah, we got our first Toomey hot take. We got a big trade in the NBA.
Big trade's gonna happen in the NBA, that's for sure. But no, I just can't wait to talk about the Super Bowl next week. There's gonna be a lot of media going on, a lot of back and forth from both teams, and no, it's gonna be. Do I say an exciting game? I don't know, because every time I say that, it's not.
Save it
for next week. Okay, I like that.
For me, personally, looking at the Knicks, I want to see how they manage the Lakers, Heat, Clippers, and Sixers, because I think if that stretch of 2-2 going against Magic, Sixers again, Jazz before the All Star, but also I think you're in good shape. You're in good shape, keeping a hold of that 6-7, not falling back there. Maybe if you beat Miami, but that's really what I'm for. I predict. I think that the Knicks make 2 under the radar, but they don't make swing, and everyone's questioning when they're going to use those draft picks. Where it's like, for example, when the guy you would probably use the draft, Giannonobi, I don't think they make that trade. I think they hold on to their ass for now. And personally, I think they make that big swing in the summer. I think you see a guy like Al Caruso end up on the Knicks. I don't know what your package is. I think you see Cam Reddish and Derrick Rose rated. Fine. We'll see how many of those I hit. And then the last thing, I think before now is over. I think one of Derek Carr, Aaron Rodgers is officially quote unquote on lock in the sense or traded. I guess I would lean. Basically, Carr is probably traded next week, and Rodgers is officially out there being moved. So
That will definitely be big news.
yeah, I mean, I'm gonna roll. I'm gonna roll that. I don't know if right or wrong, but we shall stay.
We could make a little prediction. Here we go. Who do you think is gonna win the flag football game?
The AFC or NFC. I mean,
Yeah.
Have you seen the rosters?
Not at all. No.
I didn't even announce those yet.
I'm guessing. Oh, they haven't. Isn't it everyone who's in it? Like just whoever made the Pro Bowl?
Yeah, but it's flag football.
Well, there's no linemen, but the skill players, I guess. No.
I guess you're right. I don't know. Hold on.
Let's see what you can find. See if you can find anything on the golf long drive too. But no, this is gonna be a lull of a week, though. I hopefully some news comes out for next Tuesday. But
yeah, I got nothing, man. You know what? AFC. The AFC was more dominant this year. I'm gonna go with the AFC.
Okay, there's not a lot of sports being played this week, so it's gonna be maybe we can talk about golf. Mr. Max Homa shot this out and won his sixth time on tour last weekend. For all those golf people out there, it's very exciting for a guy who's only been really dominant on tour for like 2 years now. 3 years.
Well, if there's anything that we play to me is that we can think on our feet. Will not let the lack of sports news. So that brings us to the end of our show. Thank you guys for joining us. Had a lot of fun. Kind of all over the place because breaking news does not have a place for it to occur. React to it as it happens. And
that's how I like it.
Exactly. And that's what's gonna happen over the course of us doing this. Just let me tell you, this isn't time we have news that's broken while we're doing the show. We are live during breaking news territory. The 3 p.m. It's just fantastic. Tell me before we get out of here, any closing?
Thanks for having me. Can't wait to do this next week. That's it.
Yep.
I'll make sure next week I'll have some bets.
Yeah.
We'll throw a little parlay out there.
Yeah, and get excited, guys. We're gonna have the city that never sleeps parlay. So
one day close to the Super Bowl too.
Yeah, we will have that for you guys. So you guys can either with us or head. So you're gonna make money either way. But for Toomey and myself, you guys for joining us on another great show. Real. It's been fun. It's been real fun.